Hi everyone, welcome to our Tree Talk. I'm Maya Thiagarajan, the founder of Tree. And today I have with me Shonali Prakash, one of our senior trainers. And Shonali and I are going to be discussing how to build effective parent-teacher partnerships.
Hi Maya. Hi everyone. So we've been talking a lot to our teachers through Tree. And so many of our teachers have told us how tense they are when they have to talk to the parents of the kids. So the first question that we're trying to understand and reflect on is, why is there a tension between parents and teachers? What do you think, Maya?
So it's an interesting question, right? Because parents and teachers actually should be on the same team. We are all invested in the same kids. We want them to do well. So we should all feel relaxed and comfortable with each other. But like you said, often there is the sense of tension, animosity, hostility even. So I think one of the big reasons for that is that parents are so emotional, right? As parents are so emotionally invested in their child and so entangled in that child's success, and it's so hard for them to be objective about their child, which is understandable. But all that anxiety often becomes defensiveness and often manifests itself as a sort of criticism of the teacher and creates this feeling of tension in the teacher. Right? So I think the biggest issue is that parents are so emotionally invested, and it's not a bad thing, it's a human thing, but it does create a tense relationship in many ways.
Yeah, I think that's quite correct, Maya. And I think with that what happens is teachers feel that the parents come with this idea that they know their child the best, and they feel attacked, they feel that the teacher is criticizing them them and their parenting when they're actually saying some area of development for the child. For instance, if a teacher says something about a behavioral problem, immediately the parent feels that they are, criticizing the way the child has been parented. So I think this kind of leads to a tension between the two.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it is there's a lot of defensiveness.
Okay.
So I think the biggest thing is, how do we bring down that defensiveness, diffuse that tension? So my question for you, Shonali, is what are strategies that work to make this partnership more productive and less stressful and tense?
Yeah, I think the first and the most important thing is, it's a very simple thing actually. When the parents walk in, the teacher should just look at greet the parents, of course, with a smile and just say how truly she enjoys working with that child. Just take the name of the kid and say, I really love the fact that Minnie is my student. I really love working with her, enjoy working with her. That itself, I think, will keep the tension of the parents and it'll just ease the tension out. That I think is the first thing.
I think I totally agree. I think as soon as the parent feels like, this teacher likes my child, then the tension is diffused and everyone's on the same page. And I would follow that up by also sharing at least one very specific positive piece of information about the child. So, you start, like you said, by saying, I really love having Minnie in my class. She's a great kid, and I particularly appreciate the way she is so organized with all her stuff, and she's so on top of things. So one specific piece of praise as well before you get into all the other things that may cause tension.
Right. Now I'm going to just move into something a little different, Maya, and ask you that supposing we have a child who has a very specific problem. Like, say, for example, class 5, a boy who's studying in class 5 who has been found to be bullying his friends and classmates. Now, how would the teachers behave? What do you think should be the correct thing for a teacher to do at this point?
Yeah, and this is difficult, right? Because we know that the parent is going to get upset and It's going to be a difficult conversation. But I think it's really important for us to not be scared of difficult conversations. Those conversations are important.
Yeah.
So I would say, as a teacher, you start with the same rules apply. You start by saying how much you like the child, how happy you are to have the child in your class, so that the parents' tension is eased right from the start. And then you say that, you describe the behavior. So we're not labeling the child. We're not saying that this child is a bad child. We're not saying that the child is a problem child. We're just labeling the behavior. So for example, I might say, Let's hypothetically give this child the name Rohan and say, yesterday I saw Rohan in the playground throwing sand at two of his classmates.
Right.
So I'm just describing what happened. I'm not putting a judgment on it. And then my follow-up question would be, this is obviously concerning behavior. What can we do about it?
Right.
So again, I use the pronoun we because it's parent and teacher together.
Yes.
And the big thing here is that child is not a villain, right? He's still a child.
Yes.
So we still have to have compassion for the bully also.
Right.
Because they're also our student. And we know that bullying usually comes from a place of either insecurity or some kind of other issue that the child is dealing with. So I think, it's important to be compassionate towards that child as well.
Right. Do you think a counselor plays any role here?
Yeah, and that, I think another strategy is maybe having a conversation with the counselor, right?
Yeah.
And bringing the counselor into the conversation, because that might also take some of the pressure off the teacher.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you one more question, one
Yeah.
more scenario, Shonali.
Yeah.
What if we have a child who has the teacher suspects that the child has a learning issue? I had a teacher who was talking to me about this. Now parents get very defensive if they
Yes.
feel like the teacher is labeling the child prematurely or saying that the child has some sort of issue. What would you do in this situation if the child, the teacher, you suspect as a teacher that maybe this child needs to be evaluated for something?
Yes, I think I understand, and it's very, very common for parents to feel a bit overtly defensive. But as an educator, I think as teachers, we need to have the child assessed and evaluated, not because we're trying to put a label on him or her, but we're trying to help her in her journey of education. So I think gently, empathetically have conversations with the parents so that they also agree that that the child should be evaluated by experts to know.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, the conversations is all about we doing things together.
Yeah.
Making the parent feel that the child's journey is with both the teacher and the parent together.
Yes, yes.
So
and again, I would say just be careful that we don't label. So we wouldn't say, I think your child has attention deficit disorder or something like that.
Okay.
I would just say, I've observed these behaviors. Do you think it would be worthwhile for us to test the child to see where these behaviors are coming from?
Yes.
Something
Language,
like that. The language matters a lot.
So much. Yes.
So much more just describing what you observe as opposed to putting a label on a child.
Okay.
And like you said, using the pronoun we.
Right.
What can we do? How can we help this child?
Right.
So in conclusion, I hope as teachers listening, this has helped you maybe think a little bit about how to go about building effective partnerships with parents. One last thing that I'm going to add is also as teachers for us to remember that parents do know their children really well. And if we can ask parents, what are your concerns? And we can listen and make a parent feel heard, that's really helpful also.
Correct.
Starting by telling the parent how much you like the child, something positive, asking the parent what their concerns are, listening, and then moving into what our concerns are.
Right.
I think all of that can be very helpful. So good luck, teachers, and we will be back in touch soon.